Invasion of the body snatchers. Let's face it, brothers and sisters, people are changing around us. We are seeing a horror movie played out in front of us. I am seeing people who take this abomination change. They're becoming proud. They're becoming recalcitrant, unfriendly. Brothers, sisters that we once thought were godly people are changing around us. They're changing. And they're changing so that they become scary. I don't know if you've noticed, there's something about this abomination. Once it's inside a human being, it makes people smell. There's an unusual smell around those that have been abominated. And I'm not the only one to notice this. I've noticed this comes up quite a lot, actually, especially in uncensored online platforms. Have a look, you'll see. I'm not the first one to notice this. I'm going to tell you a story. This is a little bit of a disturbing story, and I really hope that none of you have experienced this, because I can tell you there's definitely a falling away, an apostasia. The tares and the wheat are being separated. I really believe we're in a time of judgment right now. The world, everyone is under judgment. You know, God laughs at these elite. God laughs at these people in power, positions of strength, of leadership, political leadership. But what we are experiencing is something unlike anything I've ever seen before. You know, sometimes when things look like they're not going in a good direction for us, and we think we're at fault, a lot of the times we are. But when you actually turn the focus back on the other person, you actually realize, and it was revealed to me this morning, that other people are actually being judged. They're being judged. They're being checked right now. They're being questioned as to which side are they on. You know, if they believe in a lie, they're going to be sent a strong delusion. So they're not able to sit in the middle of that fence. As a brother said, you know, Satan owns that fence, right? God doesn't want anyone on the fence, because if you're on the fence, you're lukewarm and God will spit you out. He doesn't want that. You either for him or against him, like Attila the Hun said. There's no way around this. There's no way around this. We're all under judgment. People are under judgment right now in the world. There are a tremendous number of wonderful channels online talking about what's going on in the world and the abomination that people are being put under duress to take, that people are being communicated using all sorts of propaganda means to get them to fall into this trap, and it's all couched in illusion, every type of illusion you can think of, right? And the big ones, of course, are that we're all, you know, we all have a future beyond now, that we're all going somewhere, that there's this great revolution of humanity, transmogrifying humans into a new evolved state. And that's not true at all. That's not going to be happening. That is part and parcel of the great deception. The great deception is not one deception, it's many deceptions. I'm going to tell you the story about what just happened. And it's a disturbing story. It's really, really disturbing. So I have been part of a Connect group. This is a new Connect group for the last perhaps year and a half, longer than a year and a half. And it at first felt to me like it was the perfect connect group, because most of the people in this connect group are professionals. They're working people. A lot of them are business owners. A lot of them come from places where they are self-sufficient to a large extent. It felt to me like they were good people, you know, that they were godly people. You know, they took the time every second Friday to worship, to praise in somebody's house, and it all seemed to be going quite well. And I thought, this is pretty good, until I put a warning out. This was last year, about September, October, notifying people, thinking that these are all professionals. These are all people that are going to be smart, and they're all going to congratulate me on sending them a warning so that they are safe. And I sent them articles. At first, there were scientific journal articles about the ingredients in this viper vial, and no one reacted. There was no reaction at first at all. It seemed like everybody reacted to sillinesses on these Connect group chat forums, mostly done through WhatsApp. Most people react to little silly stuff. Somebody sends them a picture of, you know, some silly thing someone has done somewhere, and there's like 50 remarks, you know, and I'm like, whoa. I mean, it's, you know, it's a large connect. This connect has got a good 60 to 70 people on there. So it's not an unusual thing to have that many people make a comment about the most gross thing, honestly. Anyway, we're all brothers and sisters. You know, there's nothing like joviality on a group like that. And I thought, great. But I understood, I totally understood that my placing a little bit of information related to their safety was possibly going to be a little bit out of place. I felt that. I mean, I knew that was, I had discernment to know that that wasn't going to be very welcome. And I got it. But, you know, I also thought, these are professional people, they're smart. I'm not sending them, you know, something that's been thrown together by an unknown. These are from scientific journals. This is valuable information, I think. You know, this is very, very valuable information. There should be no reason why anyone would resist this. And yet, for whatever reason, there was nothing that came back. There was no feedback of any kind. And at first I thought, well, you know what, this isn't, you know, I'm not going to get disturbed by it. I've warned people. That's, you know, that's all I was after the 70, 80 people that were on that data bank of people, because I thought, if I can warn 80 people, even if 3 or 4 are more cautious now because of it, this was worth the risk. You know, I'll do anything to help and warn people. I'll do anything to prevent people from running afoul of you know, of what's happening in the world. But anyway, I was very intrigued by what followed, because about a month later, something came up where there was this voluntary move now for the world to go in the direction of this abomination, to start abominating people. And I kind of thought about it, and I thought, these are some very important video material links. I really should send it to as many people as I can. And some of it was disturbing me a lot, because I kept thinking, this is the mark. I mean, I'd already been told that this was going to be the mark a very, very long time ago. You know, I've been following prophecy, eschatology for a very long time. So it wasn't new to me that they were going to try to do this. I remember back in time watching a video that was released around 2017, 2016, somewhere there, 2015. and it had Jesse and this lady meeting up, Ventura, and she was telling them about how this thing was going to come into the world administered as an abomination, right, into the temple. And I kind of felt, this is, whoa, this was a long time ago. So I already knew at the back of my subconscious that something like this was potentially going to be showing up in this exact way, predictive programming. And I wasn't too surprised when I heard that Mr. BG was going to attempt to force mandatorily abominate the world. This is, the gates of hell shall not prevail. So I really knew something was up, something was coming to this effect. And because of my background working with a lot of law firms and having gone to law school and studied, even of my own regard, studying, patents and acts, corporations acts, trading acts, franchise codes, etc. I've always had this fascination for looking behind the scenes of things. I'm not happy with something on the surface. I like to probe and see where it all goes. I just love research. I love figuring things out and trying to work it all out. So I gave it a chance. I gave it the benefit of the doubt, but I very quickly realized that this could probably be it. And as I did research, I began to see, given the ingredients, the concoction mix of what was in this vial, this was definitely the mark. Definitely, without a doubt, And I hear this all the time. Oh, it's just a precursor. No. You're precursed if you take this thing. There is no precursor in the Bible. The Bible doesn't show any precursor of any kind. It doesn't say there's a precursor and then all of a sudden there's the mark. It doesn't say that at all, right? The Bible makes it extremely clear that what shows up is the mark. The mark is the mark. There's no other way. And there's no other way that it appears. And of course, what better way than to deceive people into believing that it's not the mark? I mean, that's what the enemy does. He's very good at that. He is an exceptional deceiver. And you look at scripture and it says very clearly that even the elect would be deceived. God would have to step in, otherwise all flesh would be lost. So we know for sure that this is a serious thing. People are losing perspective. They are seeing us as their enemy. And it's not so much that we haven't been abominated. It's that we're not in line with the plan of the enemy. They're plugged into the plan of the enemy. They've always wanted, this is a very hard one to say. Very difficult to verbalize, but because we don't want to believe this. We don't want to believe that they have sided with the enemy, that they have decided that they want the plan to move forward as the enemy originally intended. And this is what I'm discovering, is that we are in the way. We're kind of an obstacle to what they've desired this whole time. And they're obstructing us. They're actually the ones saying, you know what, these guys, these unabominated ones, are the ones that never wanted this plan to go ahead as planned, right? It's almost like it's on a subconscious level. And because they're now abominated, they're plugged into the AI. They're not even aware of that yet, but they're plugged into an artificial intelligence that is telling them, talking to them, and giving them a directive. Now you're probably saying, come on, that's not possible. How on earth is the AI speaking to them? Well, you have to understand what's inside them now. Abominated there's a coagulation, a conglomeration of nanobots. And nano means much, much smaller than micro, right? Nano is 1/1000th of micro. It's very, 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 very small. These are tiny robots, robot submarines moving through the bloodstream. And when people say, well, there's no mark on the hand or on the forehead, this cannot be. But from what I saw recently on a video showing somebody, well, in various locations, different people, but somebody actually using their body as a transaction device. They no longer need a card. They don't need any form of identification on them, because there's a 13-digit number that comes up when you hold a QR scanner to the body to where it's been abominated. There's a number that appears, and I've seen numerous videos of this. Numerous. It's not like it's only been 2 or 3 times. It's like numerous videos, and you only have to go off platform, go to all these other platforms, and you will see how many people have actually done this. They've taken on their mobile phones the barcode or QR code scanner, and there you go. You see it show up, 13 digits, boom. It's like they've become a patented, genetically modified, CRISPR scissor cutting, DNA rewriting vehicle, moving around the earth, moving this way and that, shedding, and angry at everybody else for standing in the way of the proliferation of this abomination. We have become the dissenting enemy, the ones who are not in on it. And what's interesting, of course, what we are finding is that those that are doing this are living out what the AI is now communicating to them. And I've seen people in, as I was saying, people in connect groups that have taken this, that are no longer Christians. They've been invaded. I see the body, but it's not them anymore. And months into this, since November last year, or December, when this came out, and they literally queued up to get abominated. It wasn't mandatory. They just decided that was what they wanted to do for whatever reason. Oh, I'm frontline. I'm an emergency medical worker. I need to do this thing, or I got to travel. I have to go overseas. I've got to go to head office, or whatever the case was. They queued. They got it. And what I'm looking at now are not the people that I used to know. They're different. They've changed. They are completely different. They're not the same people. There has been an invasion. Bodies have been snatched. They are not the people we used to know. They are proud. They get angry easily. They don't talk like Christians. They have only their desires at the forefront. One evening we went for a dinner at one of the shopping centers. We were sitting down, and this, everybody had ordered, and mine was just an ordinary, cheeseburger or whatever it was. And it arrives, and this girl, a sister, right, a Christian lady that we've known. In fact, we went out on evangelical tours of the sort of main boardwalk area of the ocean to evangelize. Lots of people were brought into the kingdom, and here she is, and this is a leader, this is a Connect leader. And she's sitting there, my burger arrives, and she's like, that's my burger. And I'm like, sure. I just gave it to her. I just shifted the plate across to her. And she just took a bite, like no prayer, no nothing. It was just, I was like a bit shocked, but I thought, I mean, she's famished probably or whatever. Anyway, the burgers started arriving. And her burger, which was a much more specific burger, apparently it had onion rings or whatever it was. It had something extra on it. She was like, oh, that's actually my burger. And I was like, oh, and, she was like, well, I'll take that one. And I was like, whoa, okay, well, I was intrigued that somebody had jumped the gun, had in essence violated all the protocols of eating dinner together as and even more so Christian family members that are supposed to wait their turn or be loving to one another. She showed no signs of that. She showed absolutely no signs of remorse. Oh, sorry, that wasn't my burger. I apologize, I ate your burger. Nothing. I was so intrigued by this. And at some point in the discussion, it came up. It came up that as anyone here had this been abominated? And she was the first one to say, yes, I have. And I think everybody should have too. And I was like, wow. And I was intrigued because she had just recently gotten married. And her husband was looking at her like she was a creature from the Black Lagoon, like she was from the Forbidden Planet. She really was not operating normally. She had really changed. She had become a very unusual and different person. So, there's definitely something going on with the people around us. Going back to my Connect story, let's go back to the little Connect group that I belong to. So I had sent a second round of messaging, and my messages were very much about people, their testimonials of having been abominated, and some of the horrifying things that were happening to their bodies. They were experiencing all forms of paralysis. Really, it was really, really scary. And I sent some videos, again this time video links, not videos but video links. And this is this is about 4 or 5 months ago, when a lot of the censorship wasn't as big as it is now. So you could still get on these links for a couple of weeks, because now you put on a link and within a few hours it's gone. If that, sometimes within an hour, 20 minutes. And these were people suffering awful paralyses, all kinds of palsies, all kinds of terrible things going on. And I understood. In fact, it's funny because I was sort of told in the spirit that if I send these links, they will quite literally get me off the chat room. They'll get me off of the WhatsApp group. I just knew that was going to happen. And it did happen. It actually really did happen. I sent the video links, and within probably about 2 or 3 days, they had set up a new WhatsApp group, and they'd invited everyone onto that group except me. I was the only one that was left off the group. And I was very, very intrigued by this, and I kept saying, I spoke to, they actually contacted me, the administrator, the moderator of the group, who is the head of the Connect group. And she said something like, has my husband been in touch? And I was like, that's very unusual. No. Anyway, a day later, and he's a professional, he's a very highly paid $40,000 a month dentist. And he contacted me and he said, can we meet up for a coffee? And I said, sure, but not right now because, you know, I'm in the middle of exams. I've got a few things going on, but we can meet in the next 2 or 3 days. And he said, look, I'll bring a friend with me. I thought, sure, who's the friend? Again, from the same Connect group. Anyway, a whole week and a half went by, and time opened up on the schedule, and we agreed to meet in a local coffee shop, and we did. We met at a local coffee shop, which is not far away from here. And I was very, very intrigued by what actually unfolded, because as we sat down, he asked me about my partner and myself, and I didn't doubt that the Connect group would have known that we were struggling a little bit, and I thought, wow, it's very nice of him to meet up with me to find out about how my partner and I are doing, because we're not doing well at all. Things are not looking good, haven't been for years, but it's coming to a head. I thought he was meeting with me to pray with me. I really thought, because his friend didn't show up, his friend apparently didn't want to come. And I thought, well, that was a red flag. Obviously, there was something a little bit more serious here. And here I'm looking at this man and I'm thinking, why is he so negative? He's not this friendly person that he used to be, that I knew from a whole year ago. And as we began to speak, I started to realize that why we had met in his eyes was not to pray for me, or in fact, when I ordered breakfast, I prayed. I said, let's pray. He didn't pray. He was just looking at me, and I thought, this is very unusual. This is a Connect leader. This is a Connect leader. So I said, let's pray. He didn't pray. And that was very uncomfortable because I felt like I was praying by myself, which I was. And I finished praying, and I started to say to him, look, it's very nice to meet up, with somebody who's interested in my relationship with my partner. We never discussed my partner at all. In fact, the whole thing was about why I had put warning videos, why I had put videos on the chat group that related to these people that had been abominated. He was very angry, but he was holding back the anger, and I was like, why? Why would you be angry when I'm trying to warn everybody? And I kind of wanted to say it, but I didn't say it. I wanted to say, I'm doing your job. I'm minding your flock. This is a Connect group you run. You should be minding your flock and letting them know the dangers of this thing. This, never mind an eternal damnation perspective. I'm talking about just from a health perspective. I follow science. I come from a professional background. I'm just as into science as you are, but I'm not stupid. I can see what's going on here. I've read the patents. I know the dangers. I know what should not be put into the human body. He was not happy at all. He just said, look, I'm suggesting that you leave the Connect group. I was like, what? You're brothers and sisters, you're Christians. And he was like, I suggest get another Connect group or go somewhere else. It felt like I was meeting with a mafioso, like a boss of a crime ring somewhere. This was unbelievable. He was cold, heartless, ruthless. And I looked at him and I was, and I said to him, did you take were you abominated? I didn't use those exact words, obviously, but did you take, and he said, yeah. And that just made everything clear. That made it extremely clear what was going on. Instantly, I realized why this man had transformed. He had become a completely different person. I am seeing people around me that have taken this thing that are transformed. They are different people. They are no longer the human beings that we thought they were. They are somewhere else. What's fascinating, though, is on those videos where it shows people using their arm or their body to enable a banking transaction, what I'm seeing, what I'm picking up is that they're online with the bank already. This thing that's inside them has already plugged them into the banking system, because all they do is they literally run their arm over the scanner, and it detects them. Not only does it detect them, apparently the nanobots, these tiny little nanos, go to where the scan is. So where the scan is happening, it moves along the bloodstream to that place. It's almost like there's a magnetization of those particles at that place where it's required, right? Which is terrifying, because what it means is that they have melded clay and iron. They have melded with machine, with the artificial intelligence. The AI, if it's switched off, they're gone. If somebody decides they're persona non grata, they're not the kind of human being that needs to be addressed anymore, that needs to be in line with the system, they don't want you anymore, they'll just shut you off. Because from that moment on, not only can you not buy and sell, but you physically can be turned off. The terrifying notion of that should scare everybody, should scare anybody. They can shut you off, right? You are, the bots inside of you are powered by your blood. They're powered by the battery power of your body. And not only is it in a symbiotic relationship with you already, it can potentially be turned off by a computer somewhere. You are now part of a computing power that can switch you off. Wow. Wow.